Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the Women Veterans Alliance webinar. I'm Melissa Washington. I'm the CEO and founder of Women Veterans Alliance. And we are a nationwide organization with our primary focus is to connect women veterans with each other and resources. And one of the ways that we connect women is with our webinar series that we have. If you haven't heard, we have launched Women Veterans Magazine. We are currently working on Women Veterans Oregon and Colorado. The deadline is December 15th. This is for the 2023 publication. So if you had once or currently called any of these two states home and would like to submit your photo for the cover, you'd like to write an article, if you're a published author, illustrator, artist, and you want to get your information into the magazine, the deadline is December 15th. And they can visit womenveteransmagazine.com for more information. We are in the process of getting Texas published, and that should be in the next couple weeks. These are the covers of the publications, Texas, Florida, and the DMV. So these magazines are in process as we received articles and photos already. If you're not connected with us, please connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and of course, YouTube. And on YouTube channel is where you will find this recording as well as our previous webinars. And if you are not a member, feel free to find out more information on our website under the Join tab. And these webinars are free, but if you're interested in some more benefits, definitely check out our website and click on Join. So we're finishing up our August events here. So the next one, last thing we have coming up on Monday is the Women Veterans in Business radio show, and I will be interviewing Sean Barnwell. So definitely visit our website if you're interested in listening in on the live radio show, and it is recorded, so you can always check it out and listen to it at a later date. If you haven't heard, September 9th and 10th, we have our Women Veterans Engage conference coming up. It's taking place at multiple locations throughout the US. If you're not in one of those locations, you can join us online. These are our 4 speakers that are for September 10th. And each of the locations is having also an event on the evening of September 9th. So if you are in those in-person locations, you can sign up to join there. But again, don't worry if you're not, you can join us online. We've got a great event app, and all the women that have already started to register, we're already got great conversations going on. So if you want to get connected, visit womenveteransengage.com and you can do so. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dawn Brotherton with Blue Dragon Publishing LLC, an independent publishing company that evolved the same way many small publishers do. It started with a tenacious author with a unique story to share with the world. As a retired Air Force colonel, the founder, Dawn Brotherton, is experienced in making things happen rather than spinning her wheels trying to find a trustworthy agent. Then waiting while the agent pitched multiple publishers, she decided to forge ahead alone, learning lessons the hard way with many false steps. She eventually got into the rhythm of the publishing world. Other authors sought out her advice and assistance. Thus, Blue Dragon was born. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Dawn. Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you. Melissa, you must be from the north. You talk so fast.
I'm from California. I know I do talk fast.
Oh,
I
wow.
hope they could keep up with me.
And that was a lot of great information. So I think we're going to have to go back and watch the beginning all over again once you post it.
There you go.
Thank you so much for hosting me today. I really appreciate it. This has been such a great opportunity. And I came up with the idea when I was at the Virginia Women's Veterans Summit. And we just started talking, and there were so many people there that wanted to tell their story and wanted help doing it. So I thought, why not try to set something up for the women of Virginia? And then Melissa found out about it, and she asked me to open it up wider. And so I'm very excited to have this opportunity. So what I want to do tonight is just go over my idea, some of my plans, what the expectations are, and that kind of stuff. I will take as many questions as you have at the end. These slides will be available, and like she said, you can rewatch the video, and my contact information will be at the back. So without further ado, let me get started. Share my screen. Okay. So foot stomping, again, this is only for women veterans. I'm not opening it up to any guys. I will say right up front, there is no guarantee your story will be accepted. 166 people signed up for this webinar. So I'm not going to promise that everybody will be included, but I also don't want to limit it. So if we have many, many wonderful stories, then I'll just do more than one book. So you'll find when I talk about the signups and making sure I get your list, one of the things I'm going to ask you is what state you're in, so that if I do end up breaking it up, that might be a nice, clean way to break it up. I don't know yet. It depends. Hopefully I will be overwhelmed with wonderful stories. And another foot stomper, you will retain your copyright no matter what. I am not taking anything from you, even if your story gets published, and it's going to be a short story, not a long one. If your short story gets published in this book that I am titling Sisters in Arms, then you can still turn around and publish it in another magazine or a part of your memoir or whatever. You will own it 100%. For everybody that is accepted and I take their story to use it in the book, you will receive 2 copies, paperback copies of the book, just for a keepsake, so you have it. And it will cost you absolutely nothing. That I am not trying to take any money from anybody for this one. This is just a great thing to do to share our stories with the next generation. By the same token, I'm also not paying out royalties. And some of you, if you're not sure, a royalty is basically what the author usually gets as their portion of the sale. And if you're with a traditional publisher, that's about 9% of the list price is what a royalty is. And that royalty you usually split with your agent. So it's a very small amount anyway. And with a bunch of different authors in one book, trying to split that small amount across all those people, it's usually more trouble than it's worth. So that's why you'll get your 2 free books, but there won't be any royalties. But on the other hand, if you want to use this as a moneymaker, you are more than welcome to do that. If you want to buy 100 books because you want to go sell them at a convention or at your family reunion or whatever, then all you have to do is let me know and I will order the books for you, have them sent to your house, and you can sell them for whatever price you want. And I get nothing. You will not pay me anything extra for that. So it's not like every time you sell a book, you have to send Blue Dragon anything. I will send you the books. You'll pay for the books for the printing, and then you can sell them for whatever price you deem appropriate. There are some rules, and of course we have to have rules. I am looking for short stories, so between 1,500 and 2,000 words. And I'm not trying to be really hard over on that. If you send me 2,020 words, I'm not going to kick it out or anything. But the idea is to try to keep it concise. If you have some extenuating circumstances and you want to talk to me about it, you can send me an email. But the idea is to have a bunch of stories from different points of view. So I want to keep it clean and concise. And the theme overall is a lesson you learned in the military. It does not have to be because you were a female in the military that it was a particular lesson. It could be a lesson on leadership. It could be a lesson on how to put your uniform on. I don't know, anything that you learned in the military that has helped you. And so that's what your focus and your theme needs to be on. If you were giving advice to a younger person that's either considering joining the military or is already in the military and they're trying to move up in ranks, what piece of advice would you want to share with them? Anybody that wants to play this game and is going to try to participate and submit, you'll have to sign an agreement just for all the stuff that I'm telling you that says you're going to keep your copyright. You realize you're not going to get any money from me on this and all that. So I'll have to have your signature before I can consider putting you in the book. That's to cover me legally and you so that you keep your copyright. And the next step is you're going to have to participate in writers groups. And for some of you, you may never have done this before, so it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. A lot of people, when they're writing, that's their baby. So they're very sensitive to sharing it with anybody, but it's extremely important as a writer that you share your your beginning writing with other people, because how else are you going to learn? And you have to grow a tough skin. It is really hard. Trust me, I have 14 books of my own that I've written. And it does get easier over time, but it always hurts just a little bit when somebody doesn't like a sentence that you thought was absolutely wonderful, or they just don't like the concept of the story overall. What you have to remember is you're not going to please everybody. Everybody has different tastes. That's why we have so many different books out there. So don't worry about that part. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and tell your story. The first step will be with these writers groups. And I'll talk about a timeline on the next slide, but I'm going to divide you into groups. If the whole 166 people want to participate, that's wonderful. I will break them into smaller groups, probably 5 to 8 people per group. And the idea is you will meet on Zoom or via email or however you decide to meet up. And I'll go into more details with each one of the writers groups once I have you established. And you will exchange your stories, let everybody read every story, and you'll provide honest feedback to the writer. It does absolutely no one any good if you just go, oh yeah, it's a great story. We need more specifics. We want you to say, yeah, but I didn't understand what you meant when you said this, or that's a little insulting, because some people don't really know. I mean, I am a copywriter, so I do or a copy editor. So I do a lot of editing of other people's works. And I've noticed that some people are not very sensitive to some things that they should be sensitive to. So that's something that your writers group might bring up to you. One thing I do a lot is I say male and female instead of men and women. So little things like that other people will pick up for you that you would not normally notice. That's what the writers groups are all going to be about. So I'm going to expect you guys to join and participate in the writers group and give fair and honest feedback, good and bad. And then y'all are military, so you understand you've got to hit your deadlines, because if I am on a deadline and I'm trying to corral all of your stories and get them to the printer in time, and printers are backed up notoriously these days. So I'm going to be really harping on the deadlines. The reason that I'm telling you all these things, and I'm being so, I'm really hitting the writers group, is because I want to do this more than just publish your work. I want to teach you how to publish, because obviously if you signed in here and you're participating, then you're interested in becoming an author and what it takes. So I love to teach, love it. That's what Blue Dragon does most of the time, is I do coaching for people that want to self-publish or get their books ready for traditional publishing. So I want to educate you on what it takes to be an author and what you need to do for your next steps. So this is testing the water for you, see if you like it or don't like it. And then hopefully for your next book, whether it's nonfiction or if you go fiction or poetry or whatever, you'll be able to take what you've learned here and apply that to your next book. So I'm going to give you education about the publishing process, starting with the writers groups, and I will give you updates along the way. Here's what we're doing now. I'm going out for quotes, whatever stage that I'm in, I'll have your emails and I'll be giving you guys feedback. Obviously, you're going to get feedback from your writing, not just from your writers group, which you should always do first, but then you'll also get feedback from me and from beta readers. So after we go through the developmental process and figure out the general story, and we start kind of building it and putting the book together, when it's really, really close, we send it out to beta readers. And beta readers are people that don't know us. They're not friends, and they will read it and give their honest opinion, because they don't care about hurting our feelings, which is what we want at that stage. So we'll get some feedback from them as well. And then again, of course, what you're going to get out of this is your chance at being published. And I say again, it's a chance. I can't guarantee everybody. It will depend on your writing, and it will depend on how many people we get. But I am totally open to the idea of doing more than one book. I'm excited about that idea. If we get that many people, that'd be wonderful. And again, I mentioned you're going to get 2 books if you get selected. And you will have the ability to make money if you want to, but you don't have to. You are not required to buy any extra books. Some people that do anthologies, and you have to watch out for this because they're basically ripping you off, where they say, oh yeah, you can be my anthology. Just give me $500 and buy 27 books or whatever. There's no requirement whatsoever. But if you want to, you can buy some extra books and sell them whenever, wherever you want. And that's totally up to you. And of course, you will officially be published by a traditional publisher on this. It's not Blue Dragon is not a vanity press. Vanity press is another one of those where you have to be careful because they're trying to scam you, where they take a lot of your money and they just give you exactly what you gave them. All they do is print it for you. It'd be a lot cheaper to go to Kinko's. So you would truly be a published author once you get in this book. All right, so now we're going to talk about deadlines. The Zoom meetings tonight, within 5 days or so, I'm going to ask you to sign up, make a decision, because just by being here tonight does not obligate you to anything. But I'm going to ask you to make a decision and let me know if you actually want to do this. Melissa's going to give me all your email addresses, so I will send you an email that you can just reply to very easily, telling me your state and that kind of stuff, your contact information. From that, I will divide you into writers groups, smaller ones. And as soon as you get that email from me about the writers group, and I'm going to put some rules about writers group in there. Writers groups can be as much or as little as you want, but there's some really good ideas, some helpful hints that I will give you for setting up and getting together with your writers group. So I will establish a writers group. So you'll start hearing from me between the 1st and the 20th of September. I will not take any stories before 1 November, and I will not take any stories that haven't gone through a writers group. So before 1 November. Some people have already sent me some because they didn't know the rules yet. I'm not looking at those. So discount that. You have not submitted a story to me as far as I'm concerned, because I want it to go through the writers group process. I will start accepting on 1 November. So if you've gone through the writers group and they said, yep, it's good to go, if you want to go ahead and submit it to me, you can. You still need to help other people get their work ready and get it submitted. I will go through 5 January taking submissions. It is not a first come, first served basis. So there is no rush to get it to me on the 1st of November just to make sure you get in. I'm going to wait and read all of them at the same time. So there is no rush and you're not competing for time. But by 5 January, I want to cut it off. I don't want to, I want to be done with that part so I can start moving on to the next part. After 5 January, when I start making the selections for the final submissions, I will probably reach out to some people to be part of the working group to help me place them, maybe help figure out which ones to pick. If I have way too many to choose from and I have to narrow it down, I'll probably create some working groups. And it might be some of you if you're interested, but I also have other publishing friends and colleagues that I work with, and they will help me make the final decisions. And then at this point, now you guys are just waiting for me because, and I will let you know, as soon as I decide who's going to be in the final submissions, I'll let you guys know. But then I'm going to start with the copy editing, and it's just a time suck for me. It's just going to be time for me to go through all of the books and get them laid out, get them all edited. And copy editing is the grammar police, looking for the right punctuation, the right sentence structure, and those kind of things. If at that time, when I'm doing the copy editing, if I have any questions specifically about your story, I will be going back to you on that to give you time to fix it. If I didn't understand when you use a certain pronoun, who you were referring to, that kind of stuff, and I'm not sure, I will be emailing you directly on those things. And then starting in April, I'll start doing the layout. I use InDesign, which is an Adobe product, and it is the industry standard for laying out books like this. So I will start that, putting it in the right format, the right trim size that we're going to use, and those kind of things. And then I'll be in the final proofing stage. I, again, will have other people read the book, because once I've read it, I can't read it again and catch different things. It just doesn't work that way. That's why you can't proof your own stuff, because I don't proof my own stuff. I send my books that I write, I send them to another copy editor, because your brain will plug in what you meant to say rather than what you really did say. So you'll overlook stuff all the time in your own writing. That is totally normal. But that's why when it comes time for the final proofing, I'm going to need other people to look at it, because I will have looked at it so many times that I will have lost my edge for it. And then my goal is by 1 May to get the manuscript to the printer. Printing is really far behind right now. It's catching up, but COVID threw everything behind, as you know, and the price of paper went through the roof. And there are still certain papers you can't get anymore. But I plan on getting it to the printer by 1 May so that we have time to have books delivered by the 1st of June. So before 1 May, for anybody that wants a book, what I'm probably going to do is go to you and have you tell me how many books you are going to want, because if I buy them, the more I buy at a time, the cheaper it is per copy. So that will just give me a number to order, so I can order them all at once and then get them out to you guys. All right, that's the rundown on my timeline. And again, these are my must-dos. You have to participate, meaning you have to give honest and constructive feedback, and you have to hit your deadlines. And this is all my contact information. So interestingly, I was playing with that last link where it says sign up to participate. And I have you put in your name and your email address and your state and all that. But I don't know where that information is going, because I tested it and it doesn't seem to be working. So I'd much rather have you email me directly if you have a question, rather than using that button. And like I said, I'm going to go through Melissa. She's going to give me a copy of your emails so I can email to all of you at once and let you reply directly to me with your answers. So Melissa, with that, I'm going to give you back control.
Well, if anyone has any questions, if you wanted to raise your hand, or if you just wanted to put in the chat, so you've got Dawn here that can answer those for you.
Did I overwhelm everybody?
So there is a question. It says, will we be informed about selection regardless of approval or rejection?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll give you feedback too. I'm just not going to say no. I hate that when publishers do that and they don't tell you why.
So the other Dawn, she has something in the chat, but she has her hand raised, but I'll just read what she has in the chat because she may have some additional questions. She asked, what is the expected time commitment for each review group session and how many along the way?
Do you mean, you're probably gonna have to come up, do you mean the writers group?
Yes.
So because it's such a short time frame, usually my writers group, we meet once a month and we talk for like an hour or an hour and a half. And that doesn't include reading each other's work. But because this is a very short time frame. It's like 6 weeks. What I would prefer you do is meet once a week-ish. All right, let me give you a quick rundown. The way I have found that it works best in a writers group is you email each other, email everybody in your writers group, your writing, your manuscript. Give everybody a chance to look at it. And then when you meet for an hour or whatever on Zoom, what you're doing at that time is you're asking specific questions. You might say, hey, 3 of you said you didn't like this, but 2 of you loved it. Can somebody give me a little better explanation or tell me how I could say it better, or give me another idea? That's kind of what your discussion parts are going to be like. Some of you might decide email works best all the time and you never have to Zoom. So you'll kind of set your own rules. And the idea is 6 weeks. I wouldn't think more than once a week, but it depends on how long it takes you to read things, how much time you're going to spend. My plan is only put you in groups of 5 to 8 people, so you won't have that much to read. Did that help?
Yes, it helps, but I think that this is a very fast-paced timeline for a group project, and it's also during the holidays. So, will there be adjustments? And if not, will you be doing this later in the year in 2023? Because it's going to put a lot of pressure on people, and I can understand, that at the same time, there's families and there's a lot of other things going on in our lives. So I think it's a great opportunity. I just don't know if the timing can work for me because the demands of, what it is right now, but I'm very interested.
Totally understand. If this is a big hit and people want me to try it again in 2023, I would certainly consider that. It depends on how it goes here. But that's why I said I'm starting to take submissions 1 November so that it will come in before the holidays for people that are trying to get it done before then. So yes, I'm open to the idea.
So just to follow up clarity here, meeting once a week or so in the group and having a Zoom meeting, but then you have what's the time commitment expected for how many articles you're reading to review? Because again, that's a pretty big workload for folks.
You will only be expected to review the 5 to 8 in your writers group. That's it. And they're all short stories. They're all 1,500. So it's like reading an article in a magazine. That's about how long a 1,500 to 2,000 words is.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Oh, Cornelia has her hand up. Hey, Cornelia.
You're unmuted if you want to chat. But we can't hear you.
While we're waiting for Cornelia, does anyone else have any other questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Sue.
I can't find my hand raised. Hi, Dawn. Can you give an example, either something somebody submitted to you, even though you said you didn't look, or make one up in your head, like of a lesson that I learned, like just give me an example.
Oh, of a lesson that you might have learned in the military?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, all the pressure, I can't take it. I was a missile launch officer, one of the first females in a co-ed crew when they first started doing co-ed crews. And it was quite the experience for women. Didn't have a choice whether or not to pull an alert with a man, but men had a choice. They could turn down the woman. So I could use that as an example of resilience, of overcoming, or just being plain ticked off, but how I overcame that situation. That could be an example of a lesson that I learned. Or it could be, I worked at the Pentagon for a long time, and it surprised me how many times I looked around the room and I was the only female in the room. But I really think a lot of that is, how do you carry yourself? If you're meek and mild, people are going to look at you and go, oh, there's a woman in the room, versus if you're just yourself and you're an officer or an enlisted person, then how you put yourself forward might be the lesson that you're trying to share with other people. I wasn't prepared for that question, Sue, so I messed up. Sorry. Wasn't a great answer.
Dawn, we have some other questions.
Mhm.
Gail asks, if we aren't sure yet if we are good at storytelling, are there any resources that you would recommend for us to become exceptional storytellers?
Oh, there are so many good books out there that all right, let me write it down as a to-do for me. And when I send out the email to y'all, I will put that on there. There are some websites that you could look at. Joanna Penn is a fantastic blogger that I really like. And her blog, and I'll put this in the email that I'm sending to you, but I'm not going to be able to remember her name. You can go on with the next question. I will put some contacts in there for you. Creative Pen, that's the name of her website. But she's
Lisa
got.
asks, will we receive a recap email of what we need to provide and what to expect? So
Yes.
I'm going to assume that's that slide that you had.
Yeah, the timeline.
Timeline.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, and let's see. Is first draft due to group then 1 September?
Whenever you get your group notification. So I might not get them all out on 1 September. It might take me a little while depending on how many people we have. So if you get your group notification on 5 September, then the initial thing will just be you all deciding, okay, you've got a week and you should have you should email your stuff by the 13th of September, and we're going to meet on the 20th of September. I'd like you to do that within your own group and set your own deadlines. I don't want to have to micromanage everybody. So what I would suggest though is start writing now and start getting yourself prepared so that when you do get your group notification, you're ready to participate.
Christina asked, she wants to know, so, and I think I know the answer is waiting. You're going to send out the email, Dawn, because I'm going to share with you people's email address. They're going to send out an email and then you'll want them to respond to you if they are interested, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And if not, then and it's no harm, no foul. If you don't want to do it, I'm not trapping your email address anywhere.
Okay. Let's see. Does it have to be a short story or can it be in poetry form?
All right. So here's my thought about poetry. I'm not a poetry person, so I don't know if it's good or not, if it's a poem. And I'm being straight up honest with y'all. That's just not what I do. I would certainly consider it, and it would be interesting. It would be something different. And I would love to hear what your writers group says about it. So I'm game if you are.
All right.
And maybe if we get a lot of poets, maybe we end up doing just a poetry book. Who knows?
So I got just a direct message to me to ask, can it include lessons learned from an MST experience without giving details that would trigger?
MST experience. I'm sorry, I don't recognize that.
Military sexual trauma.
Oh, okay. Yes, it can include that. If that's simple enough. Yeah, it can include whatever you want it to be. And you don't have to. So just as a gee whiz, folks, a book can be true. It can be a nonfiction book and you can still change the names. You can change the location. You can say it happened in Afghanistan when it really happened in Iraq if you want to. That does not make it nonfiction. As a matter of fact, it's very common for any stories that you're going to tell. If you don't want to call out somebody, then change their name. That's preferred, as a matter of fact. Maybe that helps.
So Terry asks, what is the possibility of writing a solo book?
Blue Dragon is willing to talk to you on a one-on-one basis and we can discuss that. Absolutely.
Let's see. Cornelia asked, so we have about 2 weeks to prepare a first draft. So I don't know if she means 2 weeks from today, but you're not looking for anything until when would be the first?
I won't take anything before 1 November, but I will take stuff as late as 5 January. So what is this? August, September, October, November, December. So you have 4 months to get it done. My suggestion is just that you might as well go ahead and start. If you're going to play, then you might as well start getting it written. And it doesn't have to be totally done when you start with your writers group. If you only have the inkling of an idea, that might be something that you talk to your writers group about when you meet on Zoom, where you say, hey, this is a story I want to tell, but is that going to upset people? Or do you think this is an interesting story or not? Those are the kind of things you can discuss in your group.
Christina wanted to share that she wanted to say that she's so appreciative of you creating this opportunity for others that want to publish.
Oh, thank you.
And Jean asked, is this about what happens to people in the military or a person's experience in the military?
It is any lesson that you learned. So it could be either way. It doesn't always have to just be something that can be applied to the military. So if you learned a great leadership lesson, it doesn't have to be just leadership within the military. You can take that into your civilian job. As a matter of fact, you might have a story that you said, I learned this in the military, and this is how I applied it in my civilian job and how it helped. That's also a huge plus.
I think I captured all of the questions. So last call for any additional questions, comments.
I have a
Sue?
question. What are your aspirations for the book? Like what, besides us getting an extra book to give our mother, what's going to happen?
What's going to happen for the book? It will be put out for sale nationwide, over 40,000 different bookstores. It will be available for purchase. It doesn't, I don't know if it's going to hit it big or something like that, but it will be available on Amazon and everywhere else if you want to tell your friends to go out there and buy it. Although your friends should really buy it from you because then you'll make money off of it. But yeah, I plan on having it out there worldwide for helping the next generation. Somebody did throw in an extra question in the chat.
Yeah.
Flashed.
I see. Will a potentially upsetting story necessarily be excluded, or might it be included because of the content?
I'm not going to automatically exclude anything for a specific topic. I will absolutely entertain any idea. It might be, I don't want to say I might have to soften it, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now that would be so damning that we wouldn't be able to publish it. How about that? What is driving me to do this?
Well, I think you should share with them how I know you shared a little bit about how our connection started, but kind of how it started with Penn Fed Virginia and just how it came to this.
So again, I was at the Women's Summit in Richmond, Virginia, and Peninsula Federal Credit Union has been donating money for women-owned businesses to get them going, to give them a little boost on development. And so the woman was up at the front of the room and she was talking about some of the money that they've given in the past and what the women have done with this. And one lady, she won a grant for a yoga studio, and now she was on her 5th yoga studio. And, so they were doing that kind of stuff. And at one point, she asked everybody, well, how many of you are women-owned businesses? And I raised my hand along with 30 other friends in the room. There was about 250 of us there probably. And then she said, well, turn around and tell your table, what do you do? So I did that. And then she said, okay, I need 3 people that we'll talk in front of the group. So of course I raised my hand because I like to talk. And 3 of us stood up and gave our little pitch about what we do. So I talked about Blue Dragon and I won $1,000 grant. So that was pretty exciting, $1,000 to do development of my company. And I decided what I wanted to do with that was help the women veterans that also want to tell their story.
Awesome. Oh, okay, I see Dawn has her hand raised, and then I'll read the other 2 questions in the chat.
Thank you, Melissa. Hi, Dawn.
Okay.
Again, so, as a clinician, I get a little concerned when I heard the other gals, don't remember who it was, talking about, giving a story on MST. I want to be sure that anybody that submits a story and they're submitting under their own name, then that does kind of link it back, and they have to be fully comfortable with, even if they change the names in the story, that it still links back to them as the author. And I just wanted to throw this out to the group to be careful, because there can be implications on that. And so I didn't know if you would be willing to accept an article or something where even the author's name was changed. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that for everyone. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. And yes, you can write under a pseudonym. That's not a problem at all.
So just to tie on to this, another question, do we tell the story, then tell what we learned from the story? And will names be tied to the short story? So I don't know if this is kind of what we were just talking about the story.
What was the last part? Will their names be tied to the short story?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know, Lisa, can you unmute and just clarify that question that you asked?
So basically what she just asked was pretty much, or what she just said was kind of answering the question. And I was like, oh my God, I apologize. I don't know if she already answered in the presentation or not, but just kind of wondering, are you telling the story from, say, third, I can't think of how to
Third
use
person
it.
or first person.
In third person, there you go. Or are you telling the story and then you're saying, okay, here's the story and this is what I learned from the story, and then where will your name be tied to the short story?
So that's a really great question, because a lot of it is your personal preference and how you like to write. Some people, I prefer, when I am writing, I write in third person. That's just my style. That's what I do. But some people, and it is very current actually, to write in first person. If you don't know what I'm talking about, first person is using she did this, she did that, he, whatever, versus saying, I walked into the room and I saw all the general officers staring at me. Okay. So that would be first person. You can do either. You can do either one, whatever you're more comfortable with. And once I get it, or once your writing group gets it, they might say, hey, this might sound better if you did it in first person. Past tense, present tense, be creative with it, because it can be, you can make it almost read like a fiction story if you want to, where it's kind of present tense and you're a second lieutenant who just, walked into the room for the first time, and this is how you felt, and this is what you saw, and this is what happened to you. You can write it in that format if you want. It's different creativity. So play with it and see what you're most comfortable with. As far as your name, my plan as of right now is it'll have a title for your chapter, and your name will be right there right next to your story. And again, you can use a pseudonym if you prefer, or we can say anonymous if you prefer that too.
All right. Does the book have a title yet?
I am thinking of the Sisters in Arms, hold on a second. Inspiring future generations. So that's my plan as of right now.
Right. Angie. Hey, Angie in Florida. So she's saying, so we're doing writing groups for months before we get picked.
Yes, because I'm trying to teach you what it takes to get picked. I want your story to be as good as it possibly can before you submit it to an editor or a publisher, because that's what it's like.
Oh, and Terry shared with us about Stephen King, who wrote several books as Richard Bachman.
Yep. And he got so many rejections before he finally published. On Writing is a fantastic book by Stephen King.
All right. Well, very good. Well, everybody, this will be, you'll get the link once we upload this to YouTube. And you also have Dawn's contact information, and she will be reaching out to you. And I'm very excited to hear and learn about the progress that's happening with this, and maybe 2 books will come out of this.
There you go.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, everyone.